Okay, it should be starting soon. Um, is it live? No, I don't know if it's live. Is it soon? Okay, it is live. Okay, is it live? No. Okay, actually, let me mute it. I don't know if it's live. Okay, so it's live. Whatever. Welcome to this something. Basically, what I'll be doing is I will be drawing something and talking about something. Pretty descriptive. I don't know. Okay, what did it? Okay, whatever. I guess that's what it is. That was the color that was selected. Okay, let me reset everything. File, new. What was it, A4? Anyway, so what I will be drawing and what I will be talking is basically about the game that I'm developing right now. It's called Chronicle Destiny. So I will be drawing a character from Chronicle Destiny and talking a bit about that, right? The goal of it is essentially kind of get ideas down, I guess. Yeah, so let's start. So what character? I should have decided this before, but let's. Okay. Okay. Man, it's hard to decide what character. Let's set up brushes. Like yeah, this one looks nice. I don't know, really not too familiar with the new stuff they've done on GIMP. Like I've seen this my paintbrush tools. I guess they have a new. Actually, using the My Paint brush engine or something. I don't know, but whatever. I'll be using that for this pen. Whatever. Being that I kind of did this, recorded it in air quotes, so I already drew a character, the character that I wanted to start with. But like I said, I recorded it in air quotes, so it did not record. Yeah, whatever. Let's start with that character again. Okay. So what I'm doing is basically a trick that I picked up, right? The height of the character, then right in the middle of that, and middle of that, and that's the head. And yeah, it's a bit taller than the actual height because it's a stylized character, so the head is bigger. Anyway, who am I drawing? It's basically a character named Yol. Let's see, has one watching, is that just me watching? I don't know. Anyway, they're not gonna be watching that. Okay, the character name is Yol, and I'll be getting to why is that character's name Yul. Soonish. And it's a playable character for the game I'm working on, Chronicle Destiny. Chronicle Destiny is kind of like a test of ideas that I have that will hopefully lead to a bigger game. Okay. And one of the things about Chronicle Destiny is that it takes place in a fantasy setting. And by fantasy setting, I don't mean like like when people think of fantasy, they think of elves and dragons and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, none of that. It's a different kind of fantasy. Well, it's a new fantasy. That was one of the main goals of it, is actually create a fantasy that's not really copying pasting Tolkien, basically. And like one thing is that this guy is actually like a mouse, like a rat kind of creature, and not an elf or a dwarf or an orc, right? I like those proportions, so let's go one level of detail bigger. Okay. So if it's not an elf or an orc or a gnome or a sprite or whatever those all those other fantasy creatures are called, then what is it called? It's a discom. And yeah, that's a weird name. Discom. It's actually a military unit, division support command. Being that one thing about this this kind of creature, this species, this race, whatever you want to call it, is that it is heavily based on military. More specifically, the US military. Not completely, but that's where I start drawing from to create this society, basically. And one of the units in a military is a division support command, also known as a discom. And so the name of this people is discom. For more specifically for this one, the name of this character is Yol. YOL. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Why is he named Yol? But let me just talk a bit more about the lore, about the world in which Yol lives in. Basically, they live in a world created by the elements, right? That's something unique. Nobody has done that before, right? Nah, yeah, but it's a pretty old setting on fantasy, in which the elements have something to do with it, right? In this case, the elements are similar to the Greek Parthenon, with like Zeus being the god of lightning and Thor being the god of lightning, and it's Tlaloc, the god of lightning, also for like the Maya. Anyway, there's a lot of god of lightnings, but the main thing about it is that lightning itself is kind of like a personified in this character of Zeus and Thor, and possibly Tlaloc and many others. I grabbed the wrong brush. So, and here, the elements, I kind of like that too. Though they don't have a different name, I guess. I mean, like Zeus and lightning are different, and Poseidon and the ocean and all that kind of stuff. So, well, either way, the elements of this world and thus the Parthenon of this world consist of earth, water, fire, and wind. Very original. However, additionally, there's also ice and lightning. Actually, one of the main inspirations of what elements should I use came from two sources: Mega Man Zero and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Being in Mega Man Zero, there's three elements: ice, lightning, and fire. And in Legend of Zelda, well, there isn't three elements per se, but there are three goddesses: Din, Foror, and Nairu. And in a way, they kind of represent elements. In a way. And in a way, the three elements of Mega Man Zero represent more elements than that. As a matter of fact, actually, there's another one, Golden Sun, in which the elements, there are four elements: Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Right? And again, those four elements actually represent more than one element, actually. So what exactly am I talking about? Okay, back with Mega Man Zero and Legend of Zelda. Well, back in Legend of Zelda, the Foror has two people, the Kokiri and the Deku, right? And interestingly enough, one of them is let's say human, and the other one is, let's say, beast. I'll go back into that a bit later, kind of. And both the Kokiri and the Deku are associated with two things. Alright, come on. That's what I forgot to erase. Are associated with two things: wind and life. And life is not an element, so I'll ignore that. but technically like life, like trees and flowers and all that kind of stuff, right? And also with wind, if you notice, like on Majora's Mask, the Deku basically fly in a helicopter kind of way, and actually Fulroar's wind is wind. But yeah, so that's one. Wind is an element. Then again with two people, beast and human, being the Gorons and the Gerudo, and it's associated with fire and ground, right? Of course, like Din's fire, and basically the Gerudo and the live in the desert, a very hot place, and the Gorons in a volcano, another hot place. But there's also a lot of sand and rock ground, right? And he looks too happy. He's not supposed to be happy. Well, he's not supposed to be sad either. It's just he's more like whatever. Anyway, and then finally Nairu, which again has the Soras and the Hylians, and the elements it represents is love. No, not love, right? I mean, the Nairu's love, Din's fire, and Fulroar's wind. No, water, being the Soras, are very windy. I'm very watery. They live in water and all that kind of stuff. Actually, the Hylians don't really factor a lot into this, but and the other one is lightning, being that the Soras, or at least magic using Soras, can generate lightning. So there we have lightning, water, earth, fire, and wind, and life. Then there's Mega Man Zero. Actually, this is in front of the ear. Anyway, then there's Mega Man Zero. It's something similar, in which the fire represents both fire and earth. Lightning represents lightning and air, and ice represents ice and water. And also again with Golden Sun, Mars represents fire and earth. Mercury represents water and ice. Jupiter, wind and lightning. And Venus, earth. Wait. Okay, I guess Martha is just fire. And Venus is earth and life. Fire and heat. I don't know. But okay, basically on those three elemental systems, there's this duality, right? Where does this duality play part on the world of Chronicle Destiny? Ice and lightning essentially are the duality. Well, meaning that those 6 elements get represented in different ways in those different games, but usually the classical elements are just wind, fire, earth, and water. But I also wanted to include lightning and ice. And how I decided to go about that is essentially yeah, just wanted to see this. Basically, like I said, ice and lightning are dual in a sense, in some sort of essence, in that they are the children of two others. Basically, earth and water brought forth ice, and wind and fire brought forth lightning. Or another way to say it would be that fire is the dad and wind is the mom of lightning, and earth is the dad and water is the mom of ice. And so in this kind of world or system or whatever, essentially the elements, just like the Greek Parthenon, they're essentially individuals, right? Zeus is a character, Aphrodite is a character, Athena, Poseidon, Hades, and other kind of, all those people are characters, right? And so in a similar vein, okay, difficult to like think of stuff to talk about and draw. Man, a lot of YouTubers do this. Okay, it's not actually knee length, it's beyond the knee. Okay. So yeah, ice, not ice, water and earth are individuals, and like I said, eventually they brought forth ice, and fire and wind are other individuals that they both brought forth lightning. So all six of them are kind of have different personalities, different their characters, and they're individuals in themselves. And well, what is important over here is that they created everything, including the species that populate this world, right? And how they did it about basically is that to begin with, no, not necessarily to begin with, but essentially each one did their own, and the one that I'm drawing right now, a discom, was made by Earth. So in that sense, he is the element he represents is Earth. It came up pretty nice. And so the other races also created other species, so there's other species populating this world, but there's more than 6. Of course, there's the 6 that each of the elements created, and there's a couple more that were created by two elements working together. For example, the meh, whatever, I don't care. Let's see.